There comes a moment in every life when the silence grows too loud to ignore. A moment when comfort becomes a cage and dreams, once vibrant, vivid, and alive, begin to flicker in the darkness of delayed action and forgotten purpose. It's in this silence, in this space between who you are and who you could become, that the question whispers, what are you willing to give up to become everything you were meant to be? Because nothing worth having, no greatness, no freedom, no legacy is ever born from ease. It is forged in fire, hammered by time, tempered by trials. Greatness demands a price. It always has. And that price is sacrifice. You must sacrifice today so you can celebrate forever. Look back through the corridors of time. The titans of history did not rise by accident. Edison did not birth light while sleeping in comfort. He failed 10,000 times, misunderstood by the world, obsessed with an idea no one could see but him. Carnegie didn't build an empire from steel with laziness in his bones. He gave his life to vision, to labor, to grit. Abraham Lincoln buried a child while leading a nation through civil war. He sacrificed peace, sleep, and security for the soul of a nation. Walt Disney was laughed out of offices, bankrupt and broken, long before magic ever danced across a silver screen. What they had was belief. Not the kind of belief you paste on a vision board and stare at while hoping for change, but belief that bleeds, belief that burns so deep it becomes a living force, something you carry even when you're empty. A belief that drives you to act when the world calls you crazy. That belief starts in the mind. You must train the mind like a warrior trains for battle. You must command your thoughts, or they will command you. You must speak life into your future, even when your present looks like death. You must affirm your value before the world ever validates it. Because the battlefield is not outside you, it's within. If your mind is weak, your discipline will fracture the first time pain comes knocking. And pain will come. That is a promise. It comes not to destroy you, but to reveal you, to test what you're made of, to strip away the illusions, the excuses, the masks, until all that remains is truth. And truth is power. You must sacrifice the comfort of passive thought for the discomfort of conscious creation. You must sacrifice the lazy lull of someday for the power of now, because your thoughts create your reality, not in some mystical way, but in the way your focus shapes your decisions mold your habits, and your habits become your destiny. Clarity. You must find it. Because without a clear vision, sacrifice feels like suffering. But with clarity, with a destination burned into your soul, sacrifice becomes sacred. Purpose transforms pain. You don't wake up at 4 a.m. for fun. You do it because the world sleeps while champions rise. You don't skip parties and weekends in the easy path because you enjoy missing out. You do it because you're playing a longer game, one the mediocre will never understand. They want pleasure now. You want power forever. When your vision is strong enough, discipline becomes devotion. And discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you must go. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. Discipline is quiet. It's the alarm clock no one sees. It's the extra rep when your muscles scream. It's the second job when the first one isn't enough. It's showing up on the days when your spirit is tired, your body is aching, and your mind says quit. And you say not today. Because the sacrifice is not forever, but the reward is. Those who build empires, who write books that outlive them, who turn ideas into industries, they bled in silence long before the world clapped. They walked alone before they were followed. They endured ridicule before they were quoted. They traded temporary pleasure for permanent greatness, but none of it happens without action. There are no shortcuts. There is no elevator to the top, just stairs. And each step you climb will demand something from you. Time, energy, focus, commitment. The question is not can you. It's will you? You've got to be willing to move before you feel ready, to leap before you know the landing is safe. The world will not wait for your fear to subside. Action cures fear. Action builds momentum, and momentum is sacred. Because once you move, the universe moves with you. Purpose fuels that movement. Purpose is the reason behind the sacrifice, the why behind the work. Purpose is not found. It is forged through struggle, through silence, through self-reflection. It is uncovered in the dark nights when no one is watching, when you ask yourself, what am I truly here for? If you chase the applause, the money, the image, your spirit will starve, because none of those things can sustain the fire. But when you're driven by purpose, by the deep, undeniable knowing that what you do matters, no setback can stop you. No failure can break you, because you're not working for likes, you're working for legacy. And legacy demands sacrifice. You must sacrifice ego, the need to always be right, the need to be seen. You must sacrifice the need to fit in, because greatness never blends in. It stands apart. It stands tall. It stands alone. If necessary, you must be willing to be misunderstood, mocked, rejected, not because you're wrong, but because your vision threatens the comfort of those unwilling to rise. You must sacrifice who you are for who you could become, and becoming is not a single act. It is a lifetime of choosing growth over stagnation, of choosing discomfort over ease, of choosing the fire again and again until the fire becomes your friend, because only those who are willing to be refined by fire can rise like gold. There is no greatness without heat, no diamond without pressure, no transformation without the tearing down of what once was, to make space for what must be. And yet, the world has conditioned you to run from the furnace, to crave comfort, to fear discomfort as if it were the enemy. But discomfort is not your enemy. It is your ally. It is the mentor that forges masters. It is the fire that burns away weakness and reveals strength. The man or woman who learns to embrace discomfort, who smiles in the storm, who walks into uncertainty with eyes wide open, that person becomes unstoppable because they no longer fear the sacrifice. They understand that every moment of pain is rent paid on the mansion of their future. Every hardship is a down payment on the celebration to come. But let me speak clearly. Sacrifice is not a one-time act. It is a way of life. You don't climb a single mountain and call yourself a conqueror. You rise daily. You grind daily. You bleed in the shadows so you can shine in the light. And yet many never make it, not because they lack the ability, but because they never master the mind. They quit when it gets hard. They step back when the pressure builds. They choose instant pleasure over infinite potential. But you are not here to blend in with the masses. You are here to carve your name into the stone of history. You are here to make your life a message. You are here to sacrifice what is easy for what is eternal. And that takes clarity, ruthless clarity. You must become a visionary, not a wanderer. Wandering minds waste decades. Wandering hearts fall for distractions disguised as opportunities. But vision gives you power. Vision gives your no more meaning than your yes. Vision filters your life, focusing your energy like a laser. Without it, even your sacrifice can be scattered. So you must ask, not once but daily, what am I building? What do I want my life to mean? Because until you answer that, your sacrifice has no anchor. Your pain will have no purpose. Once you see it, I mean truly see it, your vision becomes more real than the reality around you. And when that happens, you begin to move differently. You stop explaining yourself. You stop justifying your silence. You stop negotiating with laziness, because you understand you are in a war, not against the world, but against your lower self, the self that wants comfort, the self that wants excuses, the self that whispers, you've done enough. But there is no enough when you are building an empire of impact. There is no enough when your mission is legacy. So you sacrifice comfort. You sacrifice approval. You sacrifice distraction. And in return you gain focus. You gain power. You gain freedom. And with freedom comes responsibility. You see, sacrifice is not just about you. It's not just about your success, your wins, your mountain. It's about the lives that are waiting on the other side of your breakthrough. There are people right now, people you haven't even met, who will one day be changed by your decision not to quit. Think of that. Let it hit you. Your discipline today could be someone else's miracle tomorrow. Your courage to keep going, to keep building when no one claps, to keep showing up when no one sees. That might inspire a stranger to rise. That is the power of a life lived with sacrifice and purpose. It creates ripple effects across generations. And yet, in the middle of the storm, it's easy to forget this. easy to lose sight of the big picture, easy to fall into the trap of self-pity. So you must master not just discipline but gratitude. Yes, gratitude. Not the soft kind that waits for things to feel good before being thankful, but the kind that says thank you for the hardship, thank you for the fire, thank you for the lonely nights, and the closed doors and the empty applause, because it's shaping me into something unbreakable. Gratitude is a weapon. It is fuel in the darkness. It reframes pain as preparation. It reminds you that you are not being punished. You are being prepared, molded, sharpened. You must learn to say thank you for the grind, because every repetition, every sacrifice, every moment of resistance is a signal to the universe, I am becoming, I am willing, I am worthy. And worthiness, true worthiness, isn't proven in comfort. It's proven in your persistence, in your resilience, because sacrifice without resilience crumbles under pressure. But sacrifice fused with resilience, that becomes destiny, that becomes legend. Resilience is the muscle you build when life punches you and you refuse to fall. It's the armor you wear when rejection comes knocking and you answer with renewed fire. It's the roar inside you that says, I may be bent, but I am not broken. And make no mistake, you will bend, you will be tested, you will be knocked down, misunderstood, criticized, doubted, often by the very people you love. But the resilient rise anyway. They don't wait for the storm to pass. They become the storm. They use the pain. They alchemize the struggle. They find meaning in the ashes, because they know this isn't just about success. It's about becoming the kind of person who cannot be moved, who cannot be silenced, who cannot be stopped. You don't become that person by chance. You become that person by choosing again and again to sacrifice what is easy for what is meaningful, to delay the party for the purpose, to trade the fleeting for the eternal. And that choice made day after day, minute after minute, that is the road to celebration, not the cheap kind of celebration, not the applause of 1,000 strangers, but the deep soul-level celebration that only comes when you look back at your life and say, I gave it everything. I held nothing back. I didn't run from the fire. I walked through it, and I emerged forged in glory. That is what awaits you, but only if you are willing to sacrifice today. You must become a sculptor of your own destiny. And just like Michelangelo carved David from a block of stone, you must chisel away everything that is not aligned with your vision. Doubt, distraction, delay. They have no place here. You must carve with intention, with precision, with devotion, because the masterpiece of your life won't reveal itself by chance. It is summoned by sacrifice. The world will try to sell you shortcuts. It will tempt you with the illusion of overnight success. But there is no such thing. What looks sudden is always the result of invisible labor, years spent in the shadows, building when no one believed, grinding when no one noticed. There are no elevators to greatness, only steps, and you must take every one. That's the truth they won't tell you. They won't tell you about the loneliness, about the nights you lie awake, wondering if it's all worth it, about the days you feel like you're pouring yourself into a dream that refuses to bloom. They won't tell you how often the people closest to you won't understand, won't support, won't see the vision, because it's not their vision, it's yours. And still, you must walk on. You must walk when the path disappears, when the map burns, when the only compass you have is the fire in your gut and the whisper in your soul that says, keep going. Because something holy is happening beneath the surface. Something divine is being built, brick by invisible brick, through every sacrifice you make, every early morning, every late night, every dollar saved instead of spent, every yes to growth, every no to temptation. These are the bricks. These are the sacred ingredients of an unshakable future. You are building something eternal, something that cannot be taken from you. Wealth can be lost, applause fades, but character forged through sacrifice that lives forever. So hold the line, tighten your grip, walk into the battlefield of your dreams like a warrior who has already won in the spirit, because belief is your sword and purpose is your shield. You must learn to see beyond the now, to zoom out when life presses in, because the present pain is not permanent. It's a chapter, a page. It is not the whole story. but it is necessary. Just as the seed must crack open before it grows, you too must be broken in the right places, cracked open so the real you, the powerful you, the awake you can emerge. This is not the path of the average, this is the path of the uncommon, the extraordinary, the rare, and those who walk it must become masters of focus. In a world of endless noise, focus is a superpower. While others are seduced by screens and scrolling, you must train your eyes on the horizon. While others are drunk on distraction, you must stay sober on strategy. Every hour wasted is a piece of your future thrown away, and you cannot afford to waste another second. Your time is not just precious, it is sacred. Every moment you give to something that does not move you closer to your purpose is a theft from your destiny, from your family, from your legacy. So you must guard your time like a fortress. Build walls around your focus. Become ruthless with your boundaries. Not because you are cold, but because you are committed. And that commitment, that devotion to your future self, must become non-negotiable. People will try to pull you off course, not always out of malice, often out of ignorance. They cannot see what you see. They do not feel the fire you feel. That's okay. Your path is not theirs to understand. It is yours to walk, and if necessary to walk alone. Solitude is not a punishment. It is a proving ground. In solitude you meet your doubts, you confront your demons, and most importantly, you find your voice, not the voice others gave you, not the voice shaped by fear, but your true voice, bold, unfiltered, divine, and from that voice comes clarity, not just about what you want, but about who you are. And when you know who you are, not just intellectually, but spiritually, emotionally, energetically, you become unshakable. No storm can move you. No failure can define you. No success can distract you, because your roots are deep, anchored in purpose, fed by discipline, watered by faith. And this faith, this inner knowing, is not blind. It is built by showing up, built by following through, built by becoming the kind of person who does what they say, even when it's hard, even when it hurts, even when no one claps. Faith is a muscle, and every act of sacrifice is a repetition. Every time you choose purpose over pleasure, every time you act without seeing the result, you strengthen that muscle, until one day, doubt no longer speaks. That is the power of consistency, because talent may open the door, but consistency builds the house. Not flashy, not glamorous, but relentless. That's what wins. The person who shows up, rain or shine, who does the work, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. That kind of person, that kind of soul, becomes inevitable. And when you become inevitable, when your life becomes a testament to what discipline, belief, and relentless sacrifice can create, then and only then comes the celebration, the real celebration, not the party, not the champagne, but the quiet, internal roar that says, I did it. I kept the promise I made to my future self. I gave everything I had, and in return, I became everything I was meant to be. But understand this. Celebration is not the end. It is the echo of a life well lived. It is the harvest of seeds sown in faith. It is the light that shines from the fire you refuse to let die. So the question is not whether celebration is possible. The question is, will you sacrifice enough to reach it? Don't wait for the world to validate your grind. Don't expect applause in the trenches. The world rarely recognizes the roots, only the fruit. But by the time the world sees what you've built, it will already be too late to stop you. That's the difference between those who dabble and those who dominate. Dabblers need validation. They need a crowd. They need instant proof that it's working. But dominators, they move in silence. They don't need to be seen because they already see themselves. Their belief is not contingent on likes or recognition. It is internal, quiet, relentless. And belief, when fortified with sacrifice, becomes a force of nature. It bends reality. It reshapes the laws of probability. It makes what was once impossible feel inevitable. But belief cannot be borrowed. You cannot outsource it. You cannot fake it. You must build it, brick by brick, through action. Every time you do what you said you'd do, belief grows. Every time you keep your word to yourself, belief grows. Every time you sacrifice distraction for discipline, belief grows. And when your belief becomes unshakable, when it is backed by 1,000 small victories forged in fire, then you begin to radiate certainty. And the world responds to certainty. Opportunities find you. Allies gravitate to you. Even adversity steps aside when it senses you cannot be moved. That's the truth. Few understand. Sacrifice doesn't just change your results. It changes you. It transforms how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you walk into a room. Because now you're not pretending to be the person you want to become. You are that person. And no one can take that away. But becoming that version of you requires a funeral. The funeral of your former self. The death of the version of you that made excuses, that chased comfort, that blamed the world, that waited for permission. You must bury that self. Grieve it if you must, but do not resurrect it. Because the future cannot coexist with the past. One must die for the other to live. And in that space between death and rebirth, that sacred space of sacrifice, you will feel lost, uncertain, unstable. That's how you know it's working. That's how you know you're crossing the threshold from who you were into who you must become. But you cannot rush this. You cannot microwave mastery. You must earn it through patience, through grit, through sweat. There is a sacred rhythm to transformation, and it doesn't move at the speed of your ego. It moves at the speed of your soul. The greats understood this. Lincoln endured failure after failure before becoming the man history now reveres. Edison ran thousands of failed experiments before the world saw a single light bulb. Disney was rejected over 300 times before a banker saw the vision for what it was. Ford was laughed at when he dared to believe that automobiles could be for the masses. They were mocked, criticized, forgotten, but they believed. They sacrificed. And now they are immortal, not because they were lucky, but because they refused to quit. So what are you willing to endure for your immortality? What are you willing to sacrifice so that decades from now someone speaks your name with reverence? This is about more than money, more than fame. This is about meaning, about legacy, about becoming the kind of person who looks death in the face and says, I left it all on the table. I gave everything. I held nothing back. But that kind of life doesn't happen by accident. It's engineered. And the blueprint is written in blood, sweat, and persistence. So many people talk about goals, talk about dreams, talk about what they want to become. But talk is cheap. Sacrifice is expensive. That's why so few are willing to pay the price. But you are not here to play it safe. You are not here to talk. You are here to build. And that means you must become obsessed, not with the outcome, but with the process. Because the process is where the magic lives. The early mornings when no one is watching, the late nights when doubt whispers in your ear, the moments when your body aches, your spirit trembles, and you still take one more step. That is the process, and that is where destiny is forged. Not in the light, but in the dark. Not when it's easy, but when it's hard. Not when everyone cheers, but when no one cares. Because when you learn to love the process, the destination becomes a byproduct. You stop chasing success, and instead you embody it. You don't need to declare your greatness. You demonstrate it. Through how you show up, how you grind, how you sacrifice, day after day, hour after hour, breath after breath, until your very existence becomes a declaration. I am willing to do what others won't, so I can live how others can't. This is the creed of the uncommon, the vow of the relentless, the code of those who sacrifice today, so they can celebrate forever. And make no mistake, forever is not just a timeline. It is a vibration, a ripple, a legacy that echoes through the lives you touch, your children, your community, your industry, your world. What you build with sacrifice will long outlast you. So keep going. Don't stop when it's hard. Don't quit when it's slow. Don't flinch when it's lonely. This is where champions are made, in the silence, in the struggle, in the space where sacrifice meets faith. And if you can hold that line, if you can stay the course, the world will one day call you inevitable. But long before that day comes, you must believe it first. The mind, It is your most powerful ally, or your most insidious saboteur. And the battlefield begins here. Before your body ever lifts a weight, before your hands ever build a dream, your mind must lift belief and carry it like armor through fire. Because if you don't win in the mind, you won't win in the world. You must feed it, train it, direct it. You must starve it of the poison that weakens most men, fear, self-pity, distraction, and instead feed it the nutrients of clarity, responsibility, and intention. Do you know what a mind focused on purpose feels like? It feels like silence in a world screaming for your attention. It feels like standing in the eye of the storm while chaos spins around you, untouched, unmoved, clear. And that clarity, that stillness, it is not given, it is earned. Earned through discipline, earned through sacrifice, earned by saying no to the 1,000 voices calling you away from your mission and saying yes to the quiet one inside, the one you buried, the one that whispers, you were meant for more, you were, you are. But wanting more isn't enough, because desire without direction is a fire without wood. It flickers, then fades. You must know what you're building. That vision must be clear, not vague, not borrowed, not society's, yours. What do you want your life to look like in 10 years? What does your family feel like? What does your bank account read? What legacy will echo long after your heartbeat stops? If you can't answer that, you will wander, and the world devours the directionless. You see, the world is not short on dreamers. It is short on builders, people who are willing to map the mountain and then climb it barefoot, if that's what it takes. You must see it before the world sees it, because the mind is a projector, not just a mirror. It doesn't just reflect your reality, it creates it. And every thought you allow to live unchecked becomes a seed. What are you planting? Fear, doubt, resentment, or discipline? Vision, conviction? Because life will not give you what you wish for. It will give you what you expect and what you work for relentlessly. But make no mistake, expectation without execution is delusion. So you must not only believe, you must act. You must close the gap between knowing and doing. That is the sacred distance where most dreams die. And it dies slowly. It dies when you say tomorrow too many times. It dies when you let feelings outrank principles. It dies when you allow temporary emotions to derail permanent progress. That's why discipline is not just a tool. It is your salvation. Discipline is love in its highest form. Love for your future self. Love for your unborn legacy. Love for the person inside you that the world has never seen, but one day will. Because the world doesn't need more inspiration. It needs more examples. More people who live with such integrity, such intensity, such purpose, that others cannot help but awaken. You must be that example. You must become the kind of person who no longer negotiates with mediocrity. When your alarm goes off, get up. When your plan says train, train. When your values demand sacrifice, sacrifice. Because consistency is not about perfection, it's about priorities. And when your purpose becomes your top priority, everything else falls into alignment. But be warned, the path of sacrifice strips away the non-essential. It will expose you. It will burn away comfort, laziness, shallow friendships, empty pleasures. That's the cost. And many will walk away at this point because they wanted transformation, but they didn't want to be transformed. They wanted elevation, but they didn't want to pay the altitude tax. Loneliness, responsibility, relentless self-reflection. But you're different. You're here because something inside you refuses to die quietly. You're here because you've tasted average and spit it out. You're here because you are willing to burn down who you were, to build who you must become. And that requires fire. That requires patience. That requires obedience to your vision, even when nothing around you validates it yet. You must work like history is watching, because one day it will be. Every empire started as a vision in the mind of one man or woman, crazy enough to believe they could shape the world with sacrifice. So when you wake up tired, sacrifice. When the numbers don't yet reflect your effort, sacrifice. When you feel like quitting, sacrifice. Not because it feels good, but because it means something. Because you made a vow, not to the world, but to yourself. And that vow is sacred. The world doesn't owe you recognition for keeping it, but your future does. Your future family, your future impact, your future legacy. They are all standing on the other side of your consistency. They are waiting for you to keep showing up, to keep fighting, to keep building, in silence, in struggle, in sweat, because one day it won't be silent anymore. One day the world will look up and see what you built. They'll call it miraculous, lucky, unbelievable, but you'll know better. You'll know that it wasn't chance. It was choice. The choice to sacrifice today so you could celebrate forever. But understand this, the celebration is not loud. It doesn't come with confetti or roaring crowds. It's not broadcast on a stage or written in headlines. The real celebration is internal. It's the quiet confidence of a soul that knows it didn't fold when it had every reason to. It's the power of waking up one morning, looking at the life you've built and knowing, without a doubt, I made this. I paid the price, and it was worth it. It's walking into a room and not needing to prove a thing because your life is the proof. But before that moment comes, you must walk through fire. And fire doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't explain itself. It simply burns. It strips you down. It takes everything you don't need, and sometimes even things you thought you did. But fire also refines. The same heat that melts wax hardened steel, so what will you become? Soft, shaped by circumstance, or forged, unbreakable by the very flames that tried to consume you? Your response to adversity defines you far more than any talent or luck ever will. You will be tested. The vision will grow dim. The money may run low. The critics will speak louder. People will leave. Opportunities will disappear. Doors will slam. But none of that matters if you refuse to fold. You don't rise by avoiding the storm. You rise by becoming the storm. By learning to smile in the rain, move through the wind, and dance through disaster, not because you enjoy pain, but because you understand its purpose. Every setback is sacred. Every delay is divine, because the greater the calling, the greater the conditioning. A weak foundation cannot hold a massive dream. So when life feels heavy, that's not punishment. That's preparation. You are being conditioned to hold what you asked for. The love, the wealth, the leadership, the freedom. But you don't receive freedom by asking for it. You earn it through sacrifice. Because true freedom isn't just the ability to do what you want. It's the discipline to do what you must. It's waking up early when you don't feel like it. It's staying locked in when the world tries to pull you in every direction. It's saying no when everything inside you screams for the easy way out. And there will be temptations. They come dressed as comfort, as rest, as you've done enough. But hear this now. Comfort is not your friend. It is the enemy disguised in soft clothes. Comfort kills potential. It numbs ambition. It seduces you into parking at mile 20 of a marathon meant to be 26.2. And if you're not careful, it will lull you into mediocrity, one compromise at a time. Don't fall for it. Don't let your dreams be traded for convenience. Don't let your future self stand over the grave of your greatness, wondering what could have been. Because you will look back one day, and when you do, you won't remember every detail. You won't remember every task you completed, every hour you worked, every failure you endured. But you will remember the decision, the moment you chose discomfort over complacency, the moment you chose the mission over the moment. And that decision will echo. It will become the domino that knocks down 1,000 others, the choice that built the character, the discipline that built the legacy, the sacrifice that unlocked the celebration. So make it count, because the world is watching even when it's not. The universe does not respond to wishes. It responds to patterns, the pattern of integrity, of follow-through, of grinding long after the motivation has faded. Motivation is a spark, but sacrifice is the fuel. And if you want to keep your fire burning when the world goes cold, you must live by principle, not preference. You must set standards so high that your old self would be ashamed to return. Because once you raise your standard, truly raise it, you don't lower it to fit your mood. You elevate your mood to meet the standard. That's what leaders do. That's what builders do. That's what legacy demands. Because you are not just building a life. You are building a lineage. You are planting trees whose shade you may never sit under. You are building a foundation that your children's children will stand on and say, someone came before us who refused to quit. That is the reward of sacrifice. Not the things, not the cars or the applause or the accolades, but the knowing, the sacred soul-level knowing that you did not come to this earth and waste it, that you turned your pain into power, your wounds into wisdom, your sacrifice into significance, and that is a celebration worthy of forever. But to get there, to truly live a life that echoes, you must shed your former skin. You must let go of your excuses, your distractions, your small thinking. You must become allergic to average, intolerant to stagnation, obsessed with progress, because this life is not a rehearsal. This is it. This is your shot. And every day you delay, every hour you hesitate, is a gift to the graveyard, the burial ground of untapped potential. So wake up, not just physically, but spiritually. Wake up to who you really are, to what you're capable of, to what's at stake. Because the price of comfort today is regret tomorrow, but the price of sacrifice today is celebration forever. And what is regret if not a ghost? A quiet, relentless echo of what could have been. You don't want that. You don't want to be the one who looks back with aching eyes and whispers, I almost did something great. You don't want to stand at the edge of your life and realize you gave more time to your distractions than your destiny. Regret is the tax on a life that was never fully lived. But here's the truth, you are not condemned to regret unless you choose it. Because greatness is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. Every day you choose to get up or to sleep in, to build or to scroll, to grow or to coast, to sacrifice or to settle. And those small choices, they seem insignificant in the moment. But compounded over time, they shape your character, and your character determines your future. We don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our standards. So raise them so high that the old you would be terrified to live here. And then become the kind of person who makes that new level your baseline. How? By eliminating negotiation. The second you negotiate with your mission, you lose. The second you start asking yourself if you feel like doing what you said you would do, you've already lost momentum. Discipline is doing it regardless. Sacrifice is showing up anyway, and every time you override your feelings with principle, you earn the right to lead your own life. Because most people are not leading their lives, they're following their moods, prisoners to impulse, slaves to emotion, reacting instead of commanding. But you were not built to follow. You were born to command, to stand tall when others bow, to move forward when others freeze, to sacrifice when others make excuses. This world honors the few who dare to take responsibility for more than just themselves, who carry the weight, who walk the path alone if they must. The few who realize that pain is not a punishment, but a passage, the pain of discipline, the pain of growth, the pain of letting go of people, patterns and paradigms that no longer serve your elevation. That's real pain. But it's also sacred, because on the other side of that pain is power. You see, everyone wants the mountain view, but few are willing to climb, and even fewer are willing to climb alone. But that's what it takes. You will lose people. Friends who can't understand your hunger, family who questions your choices, peers who resent your rise, and it will hurt. But let it hurt. Let it hollow you, because in the hollowing you make space. Space for the next version of you, the stronger you, the wiser you, the unstoppable you. Because elevation requires isolation. You cannot take everyone with you, not because you don't love them, but because they don't love the mission, and the mission comes first. It has to, because this is not about you anymore. This is about the people who are silently watching you, the ones who've never had a role model, the ones who are waiting to believe that greatness is still possible, because they see it in you.
Right.
You are building more than a life. You are building a lighthouse, and someone, someday, in their darkest hour, will find their way because you didn't quit. That is why you sacrifice. That is why you grind. That is why you keep showing up, even when it feels like nothing is happening, because something is happening, inside you, around you, through you. You are becoming the person who can handle the life you once only dreamed of. You are becoming the person whose ceiling is now someone else's inspiration. But you must stay the course. You must keep the vow. You must remember why you started. Not for attention, not for applause, but for impact, for legacy, for that unshakable peace that only comes when you've emptied yourself into the world and left nothing on the table. And when you walk with that energy, when you sacrifice like that, you don't chase success. You attract it. You don't need to scream your worth. The results whisper it in every room you enter. That's what discipline buys you. That's what sacrifice delivers. Not hype, not noise. Respect, real, earned, undeniable respect. From others, yes, but more importantly, from yourself. Because that's the ultimate celebration, looking in the mirror and seeing a warrior, a builder, a leader, a giant, and knowing I built this, no shortcuts, no handouts, just sacrifice. So ask yourself now, are you ready to do what others won't? Are you ready to suffer now, so you can shine forever? Are you ready to walk through the fire, not because it's easy, but because you were born to burn bright? If the answer is yes, then this is your time. This is your path. This is your season of sacrifice. Walk it boldly. Walk it silently. Walk it with a knowing that one day soon, the world will look at what you've built and finally understand why you were so quiet, so focused, so relentless, so dangerous. Because when you sacrifice today, when you surrender comfort, when you walk with purpose, you don't just change your life, you change everything. This is the moment where the world splits, where average turns back and greatness walks forward. You are standing at the crossroads of everything you were and everything you could be. And the path ahead, it's not paved in comfort. It's not lined with cheerleaders. It won't offer shortcuts or softness. It's paved in sweat, lined with sacrifice, lit by the fire you build inside or not at all, because no one is coming to save you. There is no cavalry, no secret plan, no hidden hack. It's just you and the habits you keep, the standards you uphold, the decisions you make in the dark when no one's watching. That is where your future is born, not in grand announcements, not in declarations on social media, not in promises made in moments of hype, but in the quiet grind, the lonely reps, the 1,000 invisible choices that build an undeniable life. And when that life is finally seen, when the curtain is pulled back, the world will only see the glory. But you'll remember the grind. You'll remember the nights you walked past parties to study your craft. You'll remember the mornings your alarm broke the silence before the sun could. You'll remember the skipped shortcuts, the lonely miles, the internal wars. And in those memories you will not feel bitterness. You will feel pride, not the shallow kind that swells with applause, the sacred kind, the kind that only exists when you know you held the line, that you paid the price in full and asked for nothing back but the right to try again tomorrow. That's the real reward, not just the celebration, but the becoming, the transformation of a soul once fragile into a force that cannot be moved. That is the real miracle of sacrifice. It doesn't just buy you success, it makes you unstoppable. It forges you into someone who earns confidence, not by affirmations, not by luck, but by action. You trust yourself because you've tested yourself. You believe in your future because you bled for it. And when you walk through the world like that, everything changes. Doors open, not because you knock louder, but because your presence demands it. People listen, not because you shout, but because you embody truth. Opportunities find you, not because you chase, but because you've become the kind of person who deserves them. This is the life that sacrifice builds, Not a life of ease, but a life of weight. Weight that makes you powerful. Weight that makes you respected. Weight that makes you real, because the world is starving for the real, for the grounded, for the rare souls who are willing to suffer for something larger than themselves, to carry the burden no one sees, just to build the future everyone needs. That's you. You don't just want success, you want significance. You want to walk through this life with your head high, not because of your resume, but because of your integrity. You want to be the kind of person your younger self dreamed of becoming, and your future self will never have to apologize for. And yes, that requires sacrifice. Sacrifice of ego, sacrifice of comfort, sacrifice of the easy road. But in return you earn the rarest gift on earth, peace. Peace in knowing that you did the work. Peace in knowing that you became the one. Peace in knowing that when your story is told, it will not be one of almost or someday, but of relentless truth. So now the final question remains. Will you honor the vision or betray it? Will you live for the moment or build forever? Will you break at the edge of greatness or break through? The answer is not in your words. It's in your habits. It's in your discipline. It's in the sacrifices you make when no one sees, but everyone will feel, because legacy is invisible until it's undeniable. And one day, long after your name is spoken, the world will still feel what you built. They will walk through systems you designed. They will live in structures your sacrifice made possible. They will rise on platforms you never stood on, because you chose to lift rather than rest. That is the celebration, not the party, not the praise, but the impact. And to build that, to live that, you must go all in. No more halfway efforts. No more waiting for permission. No more playing small, so others feel comfortable. Step forward. Claim your future. Bleed for your vision. And let the world watch you become the fire. Because those who sacrifice today do not just celebrate tomorrow. They celebrate forever.